Yeah, and I know we often say we have more questions than answers after researching some of these, and this one is similar only because I could kind of put myself at the age of this young girl and I have some questions. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think. So this next one comes out of Mobile, Alabama, and it's just really heartbreaking to hear because it involves a 14-year-old girl who was left behind by her mother and stepfather and forced to survive on her own for almost a year inside of a home that was filled with filth and animals and just super poor living conditions. And the whole time she was left alone, her mother and stepfather were actually working in a completely different state. According to investigators, this came to light when the teenager was seen stumbling down the road outside of a Dollar General store in Mobile County. Employees noticed she appeared disoriented and unwell, and then they ended up contacting the authorities. And when the deputies arrived, the girl was reportedly complaining of dizziness and had a lot of stomach pain, and so eventually she was taken to the hospital for evaluation. The welfare check would ultimately expose what law enforcement says was a year-long abandonment. When deputies followed up at the home where the girl said she had lived, what they found was very disturbing. Authorities say the mobile home was in extremely unsanitary condition, and you can see in the photos that the floors were covered in dog feces, urine, trash was piled throughout the entire residence, and there was even an infestation of roaches and bugs. And inside the home, there were 7 dogs. And not just 7 dogs, but one that was found dead inside a closet. And animal control ended up removing all of the dogs that were found still alive inside the home. The girl had told investigators that she had been living completely alone since February 2024, shortly after she turned 14. According to police, her mother and stepfather had moved out of the state, leaving her behind with the dogs, and she had absolutely no adult supervision.
Worker says she's dialed for help after seeing the girl stumbling outside, and it quickly turned into a child investigation. Mobile County deputies responded to the Dollar General on Jarrett Road January 4th after worker Jessica Smitherman called saying a young girl was staggering, her stomach hurt, and she kept passing out.
Looked like she had not had a bath in months. She had dog hair all over her clothes. She smelled very bad, so I knew she needed some kind of help.
The 14-year-old was taken to the hospital where investigators learned she had been living alone in a mobile home since around her birthday last February.
The condition of the mobile home was just deplorable and not something that any human or even any animal should be living in.
Sheriff Paul Birch says deputies found urine, feces, trash, and 7 dogs on the property, one dead inside a closet.
And that's where the timeline becomes a little more alarming because investigators say the girl reported that her last in-person contact with her mother and stepfather was around Halloween 2025, so months ago. Since then, she has only communicated with them through Snapchat messages. The girl said her mother would occasionally arrange food deliveries, such as Walmart or DoorDash, but otherwise she was left to fend for herself, including caring for all of those animals inside that disgusting, filthy home. And inside the home, deputies also reportedly found a handwritten note, which this is absolutely heartbreaking, that painted a painful picture of what life looked like for this poor child. The note was titled, quote, "How many times mom tells me that she can't pick me up?" Exclamation mark. And it had a total of 87 tally marks, which investigators believe showed repeated promises from the mother that were just never kept. The girl's mother has been identified as Marshall Lynn Portilla and her stepfather as Eugene Medrano. According to the Mobile County Sheriff's Office, the couple had been living and working in Pensacola, Florida, roughly about an hour away, while the girl was left alone in Alabama. When questioned, the mother claimed she left her daughter behind because the girl didn't want to move without her animals, which she had referred to as service animals. However, authorities said that it was unclear whether the dogs were legitimate service animals. Regardless, they emphasized that a minor can't legally be left alone in those conditions. Both adults were arrested and charged with multiple counts of animal cruelty. They were booked into the county metro jail, and as of most recent reports, the investigation still remains active and additional charges have not been ruled out. Authorities have said what ultimately saved this girl's life was that the concerned employee chose not to turn a blind eye and actually made the call to authorities